Hey, I'm Kalila McCoy, and this is a show that empowers you to keep moving forward, not only for yourself, but for others as well. This is Where We Rise. Hey there, welcome to the show. I'm very excited to be here with you as we continue our Back to School series where we explore how others learn, both literally and figuratively, and how they see the world so we can learn a little bit more ourselves. This week has been a very busy week for me as it is my first full week back to school. As you guys know, I've been in education for many years, but this is my 4th year as a math specialist, and we have been hitting the ground running. Now, when I told my former middle school teacher, Miss Roshang, that I spend my days teaching math and supporting others with math, she had to laugh. Growing up, you guys, I hated math, and I told everybody. I had convinced myself that it was too hard, that I wasn't capable, and that it simply wasn't for me. Ms. Roshang was my history teacher, not my math teacher, but she knew of the strong dislike that I had for math. But after she left and we talked about how much I've grown to love working with others around math, she said something that I truly appreciated. She said she wasn't surprised because she always knew I could do anything I set my mind to and that I was meant to be an educator. When I think about the kind of teacher I am today and the way I connect with students and families, so much of it comes from growing up with teachers like her and people who saw me, believed in me, and shaped the way I show up in the world. I'm truly grateful for the people who have cheered me on, but I've also had experiences where teachers and other adults have tried to limit me. Sometimes intentionally, and other times they thought they were being helpful. Our guest today, Michelle Steiner, knows that experience well. Living with the math disability, dyscalculia, she was told many times what she wouldn't be able to do. I'm sure some believed that they were guiding her towards an easier path, but Michelle refused to let limited expectations define her. She didn't allow her disability to stop her then, and she doesn't allow it to stop her now. Today, Michelle is going to share with us what it was like growing up being labeled with a disability from kindergarten, what it was like feeling different than her peers and navigating moments of struggle, but choosing again and again to keep moving forward. Let's listen. Michelle, how are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing really good today. We talked about the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day, so I'm excited to be here talking to you.
Yes, same here.
I'm going to start us off by reading what you sent me when you learned about the show and decided that you wanted to be a guest. You said, "Hi, my name is Michelle, and I have a learning disability. I'm a writer, speaker, photographer, and paraeducator. I was told that I could not go to college, get my bachelor's degree, or have the job I wanted. I was able to do all of that and more. I would love to share my story with you." So when I read that, I just heard the power and confidence in your words. And so I knew I would not pass up on the opportunity to have a conversation with you. So I would just love to just start where you are comfortable and just tell us the name of your disability and then describe it in your own words.
Sure, I would be happy to. I have a learning disability. I have dyscalculia, which is a math learning disability, and that affects on how I with numbers. It can be hard. I don't see numbers backwards, but it's hard with no understanding how they work, forgetting the steps in a math problem. But it goes beyond that. I'm not able to read the face of a clock, and I confuse my right from my left, and those are pretty common symptoms of that. I also have limited hand dexterity in both of my hands.
Okay.
And that affects me with my fine motor skills, locking doors, unlocking doors. Things can fall out of my hands. I also have visual perception issues, but that is in my brain, not in my eyes. So that affects more of my reaction time and my eye-hand coordination. And I'm not able to drive because of that.
Okay. So I told you before, too, I find this really interesting because I am a math coach myself. So that's my job is to help students with math. So, and a lot of times we see kids who might struggle with these certain things, and dyscalculia is not something that we are trained on knowing about and, you know, knowing what to look for and things like that. So how old were you when you first found out that you had this disability?
they found out I had a learning disability in kindergarten. My teacher could really see that I was struggling in the classroom. And whenever my teacher recommended that I get tested for having a learning disability, and whenever they did the evaluation, it became as no surprise to them that I have one. And I can
Mm-hmm.
remember they did not, as I said, they didn't give it a specific name, but they knew when I was 5 or 6, I was not going to be a mathematician. That was not in the
Yeah.
cards for me.
Hey, don't worry. Some days I'm not sure I'm a mathematician. I just try really hard to get it right and help other people. So, if since it wasn't first seen as dyscalculia, what did they say your disability was?
They still don't. This is where it comes into with the diagnostic criteria. It'll
Mm-hmm.
come up as specific learning disability in math. But
Okay.
at that time, it was just learning disability. And
Mm-hmm.
they knew that the math, that's how it impacted me.
Right. So talk us through how that felt going through elementary school, especially, when math is a big part of your day. It's a big expectation that you're
Mhm.
moving, along with your peers. How did that feel for you?
It was really difficult for me. I can just
Mm-hmm.
remember feeling that struggle whenever I
Yeah.
was a very small child. I had to repeat kindergarten and I began to receive specialty instruction in all areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had accommodations, but it was hard for me, not only academically, but socially. When I was in regular ed, everybody could see that I was struggling in the classroom. And I couldn't hide. I went to a very small school district where everybody knew each
Mm-hmm.
other. They were close knit if you fit in. And if you weren't one of them, you certainly didn't fit in, and life was difficult. And I can just remember I couldn't just blend in. I mean, they saw me in the
Yeah.
classroom struggling, going to learning support. And the bullying started really early whenever I was young. And when I was younger, it wasn't just, um, a lot of times it was, well, you're not invited to my birthday party and you can't play with me on the playground.
Oh,
And it got a lot, not to jump too far ahead, but academically, school got a lot easier for me when I went to high school, but
okay.
socially, that got a lot harder for me. But one of the things that was really key was writing. They found out I
Okay.
was really good at writing and reading. And my dad found a story about a dinosaur that I wrote in second or third grade and said, wow, this is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And when he did that, I was like, wow, I am good at something because I didn't think I was good at anything. I thought
Oh,
that I wasn't smart. I thought I don't have any talents or any skills. And
right.
writing and reading really became my world, starting when I was young.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the hard thing a lot of times when a student is struggling
Mhm.
in one area. There's so much pressure, right? Because there's so much support and the intention is good, but you spend so
Mhm.
much time helping them in that one area. We don't always get to focus on the strengths. Or by that time you get to your strength, you're probably just mentally fatigued from trying so hard with math that you might not be able to give as much to the other areas.
Right, exactly.
When you talked about being bullied and things like that, how did you handle that? Were there adults in your life that you could kind of go to and talk to about it? Or did you feel like you had to handle most of it on your own?
I was really lucky that I found a group when I was in high school that
Mm-hmm.
I was not connecting with peers in my school. It just wasn't happening for me. So what I ended up doing was I found a group right outside of my school district that was an
Oh,
arts group, and I got to meet other peers that I didn't go to school with, and they had the same interests. So I had that acceptance. And
mm-hmm.
that helped a lot with my confidence. And I could shake that reputation that followed me ever since I was that little kindergartner
Yeah.
of being that outcast. And my parents were great for taking me places as well. And then once I transitioned out of that group, when I was a teenager, I also found a writing group for adults.
Okay.
And that was great because they were just a couple years older than I was, and they got to watch me grow as a writer and a person. And at
Mm-hmm.
that time, I thought, oh no, they told me, oh, you should write about having a disability. I thought, oh no, I'm not having this. It's too personal. And 20 some years later, we still meet once a month to talk about our writing.
Wow.
And we're still in each other's lives. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just, they've really made that difference. And they got to watch me grow as that writer and that person. And my
Yes.
my parents were just really great about taking me places. And my dad's the one that found out about the writing group. And I
Okay.
thought, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to see what that's about. And it was also nicer having older friends that were of a good influence too, because
Mm-hmm.
driving was not that big of a deal. Some of my peers were asking me, well, are you driving yet? And I only want to hang out with you if you drive. But a
Oh,
lot of my friends who were older, just by a few years, that wasn't a factor to them.
right.
After they found out I couldn't do it, they're like, okay, we'll take you places. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they've always had that open policy.
Yeah, I love that you had that group of people to be with who
Hmm.
saw who you were beyond the disability. When you, because you already shared with us that you have limited ability in your hands and
Hmm.
the perception, did that gradually decrease or was that like right away when you were younger, all of that was noticed at once?
They noticed the vision perception when I was young. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they I was uncoordinated. I would blink every time a ball came in my direction. And I always had poor handwriting. But one of the things, and then but the visual perception came first
Okay.
because I was in school and I went to the eye doctor and had normal vision, but my visual perception was off. So I remember there was like little activities. My dad made me a balance beam and then we had
Mm-hmm.
like a wiffle ball that we hung from our ceiling in the family room, downstairs in the basement. And I would go and try to hit the ball so many
Right.
times, but it didn't turn me into an athlete. And that certainly was something that came up whenever driving. What was it?
Mm-hmm.
My parents knew that was going to be a challenge for me, so they thought, well, we're going to wait a year. We didn't immediately try to get my license when I was 16, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
families do, or start
Right.
studying for that. And then they gave me little tasks to do. And we lived out in the country in the field, where we had a field in our house. So they said, well, can you go mow the field? And instead of making beautiful long lines, I ended up making crop circles. So I always say I know where crop circles come from. And I
So
almost
it's you,
ran.
not the
Yes.
aliens.
And I almost ran the family car into the garage. And at that point, my mom and dad said, this is time to get something, established and see
Right.
what's going on. And I passed every test, just like at the eye doctor, that with my vision until we got to visual perception. And
Okay.
they said they didn't recommend that. Now, the hand dexterity was not officially diagnosed until I was an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But the light bulb went off at that point because I not only had poor handwriting going through school, but things would fall out of my hands and people just thought I was clumsy and I couldn't
Okay.
use twist ties. If you give me a manual can opener, it's like trying to operate a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I
Talk
just
us
thought,
through
okay,
that a
well,
little bit.
yeah,
So you said like not using twist ties or a can opener. I'm
right.
sure like when you're trying, right, you're focusing on trying to get that open. What is like, do you not see it correctly? Or are you like, I don't know which way to turn it? How does that feel in the moment?
I can see it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's making those connections with my hands
Okay.
and trying to get it in the direction and then sometimes just the dexterity of that. And that's also a sensory issue. I can remember one
Mm-hmm.
of the tests they were like, oh, they were touching my hands and I couldn't figure out which finger they were touching. And
Okay.
then it's also just how they work in general. I can remember they blindfolded me and had me put shapes in a shape sorter.
Mm-hmm.
And my hand, that's how they
Couldn't do
measure
it.
how your hands work. And I had a lot of difficulty with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always hard for me maybe to grip pencils. I mean, my handwriting has always been bad. In fact, they put a W on my report card for weakness.
Oh,
And finally, when I learned how to type, that really changed a lot of things. And now I also like
good.
the dictation software that they have. Um,
Right.
I-
Yeah,
yep,
there's a lot more things to help.
right.
Now, again, like I said, as a math coach, like I work with a lot of kids, right? And you talked about, blindfolding you and having
Hmm.
you do these activities. And, obviously we have to do different activities to see what the child is able to
Hmm.
do and kind of rule out certain things. When you take those tests, did you ever feel like, you would know eventually that you didn't perform as they expected? Was it ever like a kind of a downer to you, like, oh man, like I'm not doing well? Or was it more of a relief, like, oh, good, they understand now and they can help me? Where did you fall in that?
think I kind of fell in very many, all those places at once.
Okay.
Excuse me, at one point I've fallen in all those different places. When I was
Mm-hmm.
really young, I could just remember not feeling very smart. That was the
Mm-hmm.
hard part. My mom and dad, we would study for tests and spend a lot of long, cheerful homework sessions. And I would go in and
Yeah.
I'd take a test and I wouldn't do well and I'd feel defeated. But then I can also remember when I would get, they weren't a surprise to me. Whenever I would, for example, we would get standardized test scores. I
Mm-hmm.
always knew that the bar was going to be really bigger in English, and then it was going to be really little in math. And I thought,
Right.
okay, I understand that, but it was hard when I was young because I thought, well, what is wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
And then as an adult, I started to realize. I mean, I went through that time where it was still really hard, but then I started to figure out, okay, that's just a part of who I am
Yes.
and it's one small part of me. And that also influenced the kind of classes that I took.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out if you didn't put math in front of me or you gave me a group project or a paper to write, I had much better scores than
Yes.
a test. And that was in all areas in school too. I
Mm-hmm.
always did a lot better with that. And I also sometimes felt relief because whenever they found out what was going on, it was hard at first because
Mm-hmm.
there was just so much emphasis on what I couldn't do.
Right.
But looking back on that, I didn't know I had hand dexterity issues. I didn't know that was really even a thing.
Right.
And I can also remember how it did influence in a certain way too. When I was in college, when I was going to take my math course, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, I'm in a program that has the least amount of math and science possible. And I had a choice. It was either going to be a logics class or it was going to be like an intro to algebra or something really
Okay.
along those lines. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was sitting on campus one day and this guy came up. There was a chessboard and he goes, "Do you want to play chess?" I said, "Sure." And we had the shortest chess game in history, which, spoiler alert, I lost. And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, I have a math disability and I got to take a math class and I don't know what I should take, whether I should take this intro to logic or I should take an algebra class." And he looked at me and goes, "Well, I'm in the math department and I think you really should take the intro to logic because a lot of the guys in my department are very nice."
Aw.
And I had the most understanding professor for that intro to logics class. I
Yeah.
did not do well at all, but he knew I was trying and doing everything I could do. And he passed me along and all I needed to do was get a D. And that satisfied with the
Yes.
degree I was in.
Right. What was your degree in?
Community programming for Americans with disabilities. And then I
Mm-hmm.
had a community college. I was able to get a math waiver and that was an associate's in early childhood education.
Okay, nice. So before we kind of talk about your degree, let's go back to your writing. What type of
Mhm.
writing do you do?
I do a lot of creative nonfiction and I do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of with the nature metaphors. So I might talk about the process of accepting my disabilities like a flower that's unblooming, or
Okay.
the transformation that a butterfly goes through, or a long season of winter with having a
Mm-hmm.
disability that we certainly had this year.
Right. When you were younger, did you write about your disability as well, or was it something that you didn't really want to talk about and
I, I
acknowledge?
I wrote about it a little bit, but for the longest time, I wrote really bad poetry and some other, like, I thought I was going to be a children's book writer,
Uh-huh.
and I still, or fiction, and that just hasn't worked out in my favor. So
Okay. Is that still a goal of yours?
I do have a children's book story about
Okay.
dyscalculia that I would love to get published because I think
Neat.
a good thing for young children to be able to understand that because there really is
Yes.
not a lot of books on it.
No, there's not. Yeah, that would
Mhm.
be great for educators as well. When you, like what I read in the beginning, you talked about how people told you you could not go to college.
Mhm.
what was that conversation like? Was it just because you're not good at math, discounted everything else that you were capable of doing? Or was it more of the driving and things like that?
It was more the math. I can remember
Okay.
that's the first I heard that was when I was in high school with my learning support teacher. And she didn't think I could handle it. She said, you could probably write the bestseller, but you're probably not going to be able to go to college.
Mm,
And I can just remember really, and she wanted me to go to a trade school.
okay.
And the funny thing is, when I look back on that, the trade school would have been harder than a college classroom.
Right. With using your hands and things
Yeah,
like that.
I certainly, nobody would want me to cut their hair or to dye it. I don't think I could definitely drive an ambulance or a cop car with
Right.
the driving. Cooking involves math. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of things that I just didn't think that it didn't have. If they had an early childhood program, I might have considered that. That would have
Right.
just given me a good start, but they didn't have that. So
Mm-hmm.
what I did was I just thought, okay, I'm going to go to community college, and I got connected with Office for Vocational Rehabilitation. And one of their stipulations was you had to get tested for having a disability all over again. And that's when I had a psychiatrist who told me, you're most likely not going to go beyond community college, because I scored low in every area, not just math.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really discouraging, because I thought, well, I'd like to get my bachelor's degree someday. Maybe not
Right.
now, but I knew I wanted to do that. And even when I went after, because I wanted to ride paratransit, that's for people with disabilities, because I
Mm-hmm.
can't drive, I had to get evaluated again. And they were asking me questions like, oh, what do you want to do with your life? So I put down, oh, yeah, I want to write news articles. I want to do photography. I want to do all these things. And they said, well, based upon her scores, we're just not even going to consider that, because she can't, it would be beyond her capabilities. And I just find
Mm-hmm.
that so funny that I was able to get things published, and I have a blog, and and I'm able to do those things.
Yes.
And the area that my disability in is in math, handwriting, and
Mm-hmm.
some of my hands work in the visual perception.
Yeah. Was when they told you that and you decided to kind of go through with going to college
Mhm.
and doing your best, was it kind of like this, I'm going to show you that I can do this? Or did you just kind of go through it hoping that it would work out?
I went through it hoping it would work out. I was really
Okay.
discouraged for a lot of
Oh,
years,
I'm
especially
sorry
at
to
the
hear
beginning.
that.
Yeah, it was those were hard years, because there was just such a stigma. I can remember I asked a professor, can I use a calculator? And she told me, no, oh no, we use our brains in this class, not calculators.
Mm,
I had an advisor who told me I was going to have limited job choices when I was done, because I would not know how much paper to give to children when we were doing an art project. And I
mm,
just want to note that this stuff does happen, but I'm able to know how to deal with it. But at
right.
that age, I didn't know how to deal with a lot of
Yeah.
that. So it was harder. But when I was able to graduate, I moved out on my own, and I went back to school. That's when I had that confidence, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I could do it. And I still was afraid. I still had to get over a lot of that. I mean, the math definitely loomed, but once
Yeah.
we got past the math, and I was doing well in my classes, it was a lot better. I used all the accommodations. I advocated for myself, and I made dean's list for a semester. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. So you definitely have the capabilities.
Hmm.
Talk to us about photography, because I know you talked about not being able to hold things in your hands. How do you do that?
I found that using my phone is really an easy way for me to do that.
Okay.
I can do it. And sometimes it's a little bit of patience to have things
Mm-hmm.
go into focus,
Right.
but I can do that. And sometimes that's just good practice. And if my hand gets tired, then I'm able to just kind of relax and be like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
we can move on, and then we can always come back to that.
Yeah. And you've lived with this, you said, since you were in kindergarten, at least it's been
Mhm.
diagnosed. And you talked about having patience. Is it you having patience with yourself? Do you still get frustrated sometimes? Or is it more the people you're around, just, educating them on what you're going through and asking them for that patience?
It's a mixture of both, but I've
Mm-hmm.
learned Well, I'm much more positive. I do have my days where I wish it wasn't so hard. Because it
Yes.
is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned how to work with that. And sometimes we just have to, I found ways to cope and to be able to know what I need to do. And it's just better to do those things that empower me to be able to do that. But I
Yes.
also find it's hard for other people, though, sometimes to have
Mm-hmm.
patience with others.
Right.
Because a lot of times people think, oh, I can fix you. All you need to do is you
Oh,
need this education program, or I'm telling you how to do this. And I have to explain that, and people can't see my disability. So I think that
okay.
that can be really difficult as well.
You talked about something still being difficult. Do you mind sharing what's something that's still difficult for you today? And then how do you cope? How do you manage that?
Sometimes it can be really hard for me, like with budgeting. That can be
Mm-hmm.
hard, like knowing how much money I'm spending. If you give me a credit card or a debit card, that's too abstract. But if you give me cash, I can kind of get a range of what I'm spending. It's not perfect, but it
Yeah.
helps with that. Sometimes it can not even necessarily be math, but trying to process directions, like
Okay.
what somebody wants me to do. And I think that can be really hard. Sometimes I might have my hands full when I'm trying to open the door up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that can be difficult. And I think those things are hard. And sometimes I wish that was, easier, or just trying to like manage with having one, or and it's just, we just have to kind of go through when we have a day like that, and we just have to kind of give ourselves that grace and figure out what does work.
Right. I like that. You're giving yourself that grace. I think all of us have to remember that
Hmm.
from time to time. Like we all have something that we're struggling with. Just
Right.
slow down, give yourself grace, and kind of work through that.
Yes.
So tell us about some of the jobs that you have had that have been successful and the things that have brought you joy.
I have been working as a paraeducator for about 14 years, and I find it so rewarding to work with students in the classroom, especially
Mm-hmm.
students who struggle with having a disability. I know what that's like for many of them.
Yes.
And I think that creates that empathy. And all the kids know I can help you with anything except for math. Or they'll
Yes.
soon find out.
Right.
So I think that working with kids, especially the
Mm-hmm.
ones with having a disability, that has just brought me a lot of joy in my life.
What's the age range that you work with?
I worked this year with seventh graders. So,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. What are some things that you say to encourage them, especially like you said, as somebody who's been where they are?
I will tell them, oftentimes, like, hear me a recording of myself. I hate my learning disability. I wish I wasn't in this class. And I feel really
Mm-hmm.
stupid. And I get that chance to say, you're not dumb. You're not stupid. You are smart, and you're capable. And I get to tell them, I know this can be difficult, but this class is there for you. And I can
Mm-hmm.
show you and I also show them how to advocate for themselves. So if they have a
Yes.
question, I make them raise their hand. I will and ask the question. I will go up with them if they got to talk to the teacher and ask that question, but I really want them to be the ones speaking up for themselves, because for so
Mm-hmm.
many of my students, they'll all one day leave me, but for a lot of them, their disabilities are still going to be there. So it's real important they get those
Right.
skills now.
I like that. What is something you would want to say to teachers for them to remember? Because even when you were sharing earlier about like asking your teacher if you could use a calculator, and I will be honest, I've said it before, like, hey, nope, no calculators today. We're only using our brains today. Never thinking that that could possibly hurt someone's feelings or be detrimental to somebody. I'm thinking of as like, hey, you got this big smart brain. Let's use that today. Let's not rely on this. But like you said, that could be hurtful. I'm sure the teacher who said that to you did not intend that. So, what would you say to teachers to think about and remember?
I would say that your students are really trying. And even though it doesn't seem like that, maybe sometimes, I really think, at least I know with myself, I was really trying, and not to give up on them, and to think about
Mm-hmm.
different ways and think how it can work out.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is appropriate to use a calculator. Other times that is not. And that's okay too. I mean, sometimes teachers do need to know what somebody knows.
Yes.
and what they don't know. And I mean, there is that time and that place for that. But there's other times maybe using a calculator could be something that can be a tool. And I mean, even if I use one, there's still that chance I will get it wrong because I
Right.
don't understand the steps. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's reteaching where they need to have that information, and it's making that customized plan. I just wish more teachers understood that. I can
Mm-hmm.
remember whenever I was in my last year of middle school and we were getting ready to move up to the senior high, and I was in a learning support math class,
Okay.
and the teacher wanted everybody to be on grade level. And I was doing well until I got stuck on one area. And rather than go back and try to reteach that area and see where I was stuck at, she just moved forward.
Mm-hmm.
And she also said, oh, there's no classes that are learning support at the senior high. So you're just going to have to take a basic math course. And I just was worried all summer. And
Yeah.
I went there, and it was no surprise that the teacher didn't know what to do with me. And it was a real struggle for me to be in the class. And it turned out there was a learning support math. And
Oh.
it's not to say that that teacher was always very understanding, but I knew that that's what I needed to do to get through all those years of math.
Mm-hmm. At what point in your life did you find that you embraced your disability and you're like, this is who I am. I'm going to do my best and I'm going to succeed because that's who I am?
I think when I was 30, that's
Okay.
when I really embraced it because I was
Mm-hmm.
graduating from college, and I used to think, oh, once I'm, uh, you know, I'll have success if I can just get rid of this disability. And when I graduated from university, I had a bachelor's degree, I had success, but I still had a disability. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. It's really all right if I still have that disability and I can move forward. And it was that process of just accepting that this is just a part of me and part of my life, and it's who I am.
Yeah. I like that. I think, like we talked about before, there are things that all of us have to kind of
Mm-hmm.
overcome and think through. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
inspiring to see somebody who has decided, like, I'm not going to let this, count me out
Mm-hmm.
at all. What's a goal of yours that you're working on currently?
One of the things I'm in a disability program where we're doing disability policy. So that's one of the things that I'm working on with trying
Mm-hmm.
to help to work to pass bills with disabilities. So that's one of my goals.
Excellent.
I'm also writing. I have a book I need to get out eventually too about
Mm-hmm.
a memoir of my life and my story with
Neat.
having a disability.
Okay. Why do you find it so important to share your story?
Because I feel like this can really help other people to be able to help somebody else out that can be, maybe they feel discouraged. Because I can remember whenever I was growing up, I didn't know anybody that had a learning disability that was female. It was all
Mm-hmm.
for men, and they all had reading disabilities. So I had no one that I could really relate to. And I think I want to put this out there that there are people that do have disabilities that are not reading based,
Mm-hmm.
and that just to encourage people to be able to go out and chase whatever dream you want to do. And it may look different than my path, and that's okay too. But I want
Right.
people with disabilities to go out and to be able to find their path in life and
Mm-hmm.
have success.
Yeah. So, thinking about the listeners that we have, right? We have a wide
Mhm.
range of listeners, some with disabilities, some without, some are who are still just learning about, somebody may
Mhm.
never have heard of this disability before. What would you say to that range of people that would encourage them to continue as they rise?
I would just tell them, for the people that have disabilities, that success doesn't always come in the package that we expect. Sometimes it comes in something even better.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who maybe don't aren't aware of math learning disabilities or learning disabilities in general, to please believe people when they say that they have one. This isn't about
Yeah.
being pretending. It's not about it. being unmotivated. It's not about a society that's lazy. It's about people that have disabilities. We just can't see what they are, but they are real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Real quick, I know you talked about like the laws that you are
Hmm.
trying to work about change.
Hmm.
What are some of the things that you are hoping to bring about?
Sure. One of the groups I signed up for, well, the group I signed up for was transition services for students that are
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to graduate from high school. I'm not sure what bills are coming up, uh, but what I want to do is I really want to improve transition services for students because
Okay.
we have students that are coming out of high school with disabilities and they're coming into a world that is not made for them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of services for adults with disabilities. And our students sometimes get lost whenever they leave school. There's not a para necessarily that's there to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
they're doing that. There is not an IEP. It transitions over to a 504 plan, or actually it goes over to like with ADA if they want to be able to use some of those services. It's
Okay.
or an individualized service plan at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we might have kids that just really fall through the cracks, and people have a hard time with going to school and getting a job and maintaining employment. It's only 10% of people with disabilities are employed. So I think that
Okay.
there's a lot of things that need to happen that can prepare somebody for success on the world outside of school.
Yeah. So are you guys writing those laws and like doing all that research and then presenting it to who are you
We're
presenting it to?
we're working with the state of in Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
at the Capitol, and we're going to be in a group. And I'm not sure exactly what my role will be. We'll meet later in the month to kind of talk about that.
Yeah.
Some people are going to tell personal stories, others are going to do other tasks, but we do get that chance to give that advocacy message out there or to
Yes.
speak to the representatives and for a few minutes, but that still gives that opportunity to be able to go up and speak about important issues. And transitions is just one of them. There's a lot of other issues that people are going to
Right.
be in groups talking about.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you're taking your story and sharing it and trying to be a voice for other
Hmm.
people. And like you said, you've lived it, you understand it. So, I mean, if they don't listen to you, like who
Yeah.
will they listen to? And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are scared to step out and do that. When you talked about, only 10% of people with disabilities having jobs, I did not realize that the numbers
Yep.
were so low.
Exactly. Because it's hard to when they go into an employer. Not every employer understands what
Mm-hmm.
somebody needs. And
Right.
sometimes people don't want to ask for accommodations because of the stigma. And then sometimes I even had trouble in the beginning with how to ask for them
Yes.
because that can be hard to know how to ask, and was not the greatest advocate for myself. And it's a real art to being able to know how to do that.
Mm-hmm. If somebody listening wants to support, either, get involved in the political side of it or the law side or even just supporting people in their community, what would you say? Let's start with the easiest, maybe the easiest way someone could get involved in supporting the community with disabilities, and then maybe a more and committed role that they could take.
One of the easiest ways that people can do it with in terms of politics is if you know about a bill or you know about or a law that somebody's trying to pass with disabilities or something that's going on that you want to see changed or you want to help somebody with, you can call one of your representatives that can do that. That's one of
Mm-hmm.
the greatest things to do. And there's also formal programs of that people can go through where you have that training and uh, you have that leadership where you can learn about having a direct role and learning more about the disability rights movement is a big one, and just learning about different programs, different kinds of disabilities too. I mean, there is a lot of ways, but one thing somebody can definitely do is have that understanding. And I think that
Yes.
goes through that talking and being communicating those too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that you share with us today?
I just would love to just tell people that success doesn't often come in the package that we expect, but sometimes it comes in something even better.
Yes. Well, Michelle, I really want to thank you for your time today and for sharing everything and for everything that you're doing, not just, in your own world, but for everybody out there who needs that voice and who might not know how to be their own voice. So thank you for your passion. And I'm going to be looking for your book coming out. And I'm excited for all you'll do in the future. I titled this episode Beyond Her Capabilities, echoing something that someone told Michelle. But in the end, she truly did go beyond what others and even herself at times believed she was capable of. Michelle reminded us that we have to chase the dreams placed within us. There will be moments in everyone's life where a goal feels out of reach. That's human. It will happen. I want to acknowledge that, and I hope you know that you're not the only one who feels that way. But I also hope Michelle inspires you to not stay in that place of discouragement, to push, to stretch, and to fight for the dream and the goal that you carry. And if that dream shifts or evolves along the way, that's okay. Keep going. Keep going and find your people. Michelle's story began to shift when someone finally noticed her strengths. And then again, when she found a community that embraced her, people who shared her passions, cared for her, and supported her even when her needs looked different from theirs. We've said it often in this show, we need each other. We need community, and patience and kindness go a long way. I also found Michelle's work around disability and policy really compelling. If you were here for episodes 25 and 26, our guests talked about having autism and other neurodivergencies and similarly shared that it felt like they are constantly navigating a world that was not designed with them in mind. So my question is, within the realm of disabilities, how do we create a more equitable world? Are we moving in the right direction? What still needs to be done? What can we, you and I, do about it? What are we willing to do about it? I think these are really good questions worth sitting with. I want to thank Michelle for sharing her story with us. If you've been with me for a while, you know people are sharing deeply personal things on this show. And even though they volunteered to do it, it's not always easy. I've had real, candid conversations and tears that have been shed after the recording stops and we keep talking. These are real people with real stories, and I hope as you listen, you never forget that. I hope you use what you learn here to be a light in your community. And know that if you are looking for light, you belong here with us. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And you guys, next week is the final week of our back to school series, and I don't want you to miss it. So make sure you mark your calendar. And as you move through the rest of your day, I hope you take a moment to listen a little louder to yourself, to the people you love, and to the things that connect us in ways we sometimes forget to notice. I'll meet you back here next time. See ya, bye.